beard goals right there. Hi, I'm Bobby Angel with Ascension Presents, and today I want to talk to you about one of my favorite saints. This is a saint I did not know much about growing up. His name is Saint Maximilian Kolbe. He's a little grim in this picture, but there's pictures of him smiling out there. He grew up in a poor family in Poland, a family of weavers, and from an early age he had great devotion to his faith. He had great devotion to Our Lady, and it said that he had a vision as a young child of Our Lady appearing to him and offering him two crowns, a white crown of purity and a red crown of martyrdom. And this young boy responds to this. He says, I'll take both. From the get-go, like this kid is something special. And again, it's the witness of his family, the devotion they had to their faith, to Our Lady of Czestochowa, that really from the beginning, young Raymond, who would become Saint Maximilian Kolbe, he takes the name Maximilian when he enters the Franciscan order, has such a love and devotion to Mary. So I really want to focus on some of his ministry, his suffering, and his devotion to Mary. He's a guy that really went where called. Like wherever the Lord was calling him to go, he went. And naturally, being called to the Franciscan life, he embraced the vow of poverty in a very real way, keeping very little for himself. And really, wherever God wanted him, he went. And so whether that was in his native Poland or he was studying in Rome, and even Japan, he felt called to go as far east as he could. What I love too is he's a man of the media. He's a man that saw the tools of his age. He would go on to use the printing press to create all sorts of flyers and newsletters to spread the faith, to spread devotion to Mary all around. When friends of his were bemoaning the fact that the media had gotten so immoral, instead of just rejecting the media of the day outright, he said, listen, let us Christians use film to conquer immorality. Instead of just throwing our hands up and leaving it all behind, to use it to conquer immorality, to talk about virtue, to bring people back to God. St. Maximilian was already dialed into that. Not to demonize the tool, but to use it, again, for the glory of God. So in 1910, he becomes a Franciscan friar and is ordained a priest in 1918, develops tuberculosis. And so all the while he's traveling, all the while he's using his gifts and talents for the Lord, he's doing so while suffering. And so he knew illness. He knew what it was to carry this disease with him. And it exhausted him. And he said, I will exhaust myself for the Lord. And sometimes, again, to the neglect of actually taking care of himself and his body. But, people said when he celebrated the Mass, they saw God. Like there was a man so immersed in God, and one man said that if all priests and all believers looked like him, the world would be changed overnight. And so you think again, the power of one man or one woman can have on the world, and Saint Maximilian certainly did that. Now, he also grew up in the turbulent time of World War II, and as Poland was getting overrun, his friary was also caught in the crossfire. And he himself and a number of his friars are sent to the death camps, including the most notorious one of them all, Auschwitz. And Maximilian is given the prisoner number 16670. Now, this is where, if anyone knows about him, this is probably the most famous part of his story, and yet it happened at the end of his life when he's devoted his entire being to the Lord and training for this moment. And often it's said when an emergency happens, that's when our real character shines through. If we're all about self-preservation, or we have trained ourselves to be a gift of ourselves, in an emergency, that's when the reality of who we are comes out. And it was no different for St. Maximilian Kolbe. What happened was some prisoners had escaped Auschwitz, and the guards were very angry, and they grabbed a bunch of prisoners to make an example and say, listen, these 10 random people are going to be shot. To send a message, don't you dare try to escape again. One man begins sobbing, saying he's got a family, he's got a wife and kids, please let him live. Without missing a beat, Maximilian steps forward and says, I will take that prisoner's place. The guards are dumbstruck. They just this is what is happening here. Because it's not just we're going to shoot you. They knew they were going to be sent to a starvation bunker, a population that's already starving to death, already experiencing some of the most brutal hardships known to mankind. They knew this isn't going to be a fun way to go or a quick way to go. Maximilian knew what he was doing. And the SS guards were just dumbstruck. And many of them even said, like, while he was alive, they just wouldn't look him in the eye. There was something already about him radiating holiness that it shamed them. In a sense, it woke them up to the evil that they were doing. Maximilian Kolbe, this priest, was already known in an infamous way. And one of the guards said, "Who are you? Who do you think you are?" And he says, "I'm a priest." That was his identity. I am a priest to the core. I am a priest in the person of Jesus Christ, and I will lay down my life. I will exchange my life for this man right here. And so they accept it. These 10 men go to the starvation bunker where for days on end, they are just in that cold, dark despair of a place. And lo and behold, Maximilian is the one bringing joy to this pit of evil, having them sing hymns, praying with each of them. And wouldn't you know it, the guards find the last man alive is Maximilian Kolbe, this priest that just won't stop loving. And so finally, after he hasn't starved to death, they inject him with a lethal dose of carbolic acid. So August 14th, 1941, Maximilian Kolbe is killed. It is the eve of the Feast of the Assumption of Mary. So we've got this friar who from a young age experienced the love of the Lord and the love of Our Lady, and he's devoted himself to spreading the gospel and even creating followers of Our Lady under the title of the Immaculata, and is killed on the feast of Our Lady's entrance into that heavenly vision itself. And so it's such a beautiful life lived. I love sharing his story with students and friends, and again, just he's a dude. His beard is awesome. And anytime I'm tempted to be like, woe is me, I'm suffering, life is hard, whatever, I see again this bearded face that's just like, for Jesus Christ, I am prepared to suffer still more, is what he said. For Jesus Christ, I will suffer more. I have more to give. I have more to love. My beard is nowhere as good as his. Please dive deeper into St. Maximilian Kolbe's story, because it continues to radiate outward. I think we're in an age where we still know suffering. We still know pain. We still know the despair of not knowing the Lord. And it takes, I think, the example of men and women who have gone all in for the Lord, priests, sisters, lay people, that just kind of shake you awake, and how God is trying to break through, and he can and he wants to. And we just need to be open enough vehicles, open enough receivers to be filled up so that it can overflow to other people. And we thank God for them. And sometimes we think, well, I'm exempt or I can never be that. And you see their lives, and it's not rocket science. They just give themselves to God every moment of the day. How do you want me to love this person in front of me, Lord? How do you want me to travel? How do you want me to live abundantly? How should I spend my time right now? When can I pray? When can I drop everything I'm doing and give it to God? Those are some of the lessons Maximilian Kolbe's taught me on how to embrace his family of friars, his brothers, to suffer patiently and offer that to the Lord, to step up, to lay my life down, not always in that dramatic Maximilian Kolbe, Auschwitz kind of way, but how do I get over myself, and how do I love others and Jesus Christ still more? And then how do I love Our Lady? How do I really put myself in Mary's hands? One of my favorite quotes of Maximilian Kolbe is that, never be afraid of loving Mary too much. You can never love her more than Jesus did. Sometimes we think that if I spend time learning about Mary or praying, asking for her intercession, I am somehow taking away from Jesus. It takes nothing away from Jesus. Mary is always pointing us on to Jesus. She is the mother of Christ, the mother of God. She wants our flourishment. She wants us to know her Son. That's the point. It's always pointing onwards to Jesus. Maximilian knew this from a young age, and he committed his life to spreading that understanding of Our Lady, of the importance of consecrating, making holy ourselves through her to Jesus for the transformation of ourselves and for the world. So St. Maximilian Kolbe, whose feast day is soon, pray for us. From all of us at Ascension presents, God bless.